What's up, War Rapport family? I am your host, C-Dub. All the opponents have been released for the all 14 conference teams in the SEC. We want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. All of the guys are here to weigh in on it on the latest edition of the Midweek Rapport. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Everyone is here. Welcome to the latest Midweek Report, courtesy of auburnsports.com. Please be sure to head over there to check out their content and show them some love. Shout out to JG Tate and those guys. And shout out to you guys for hanging out with us. Do us a favor and share this video using the hashtag and even at us on Facebook, Twitter, so we know that you shared it. Smash that like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Now, Ike is dropping content just about every Thursday. Ike, tell them how they can get a green name and check out that content, sir.
You got to hit that join button, man. It's really simple right down there. When you're on our main page, you can click the join button, decide which level you want to come in and support us, and you'll be able to get access to all of our paywall content. If you are a member and you want to gift someone their first month of membership, you can do that right now. Just click on the little plus sign that's down there, depending on what kind of device you have. And you can go ahead and gift a membership down there, and somebody else will get the first month of membership on you. We are taking the advice and still giving away T-shirts here. We're going to give away another War Rapport branded T-shirt today, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. Make sure you use the hashtag Get Your Weight Up in the live chat to be able to enter that drawing. We will do that drawing right around the 1 hour mark. So Facebook folks, you need to hop over to YouTube to make sure that that happens for y'all.
Indeed. Let me grab a few comments before we get into the discussion today. Joshua Palmer has become a member. Welcome, good sir. Auburn Dad for Life says, appreciate the super chat. He says, so the SEC said, since you go to play Oklahoma, Georgia, and Bama, we'll give you the bottom tier of the SEC for the rest of your SEC opponents. War Eagle, War Rapport family. We'll get into that for sure. And John Brandon with the funnies. Is Mike okay? Heard he took balls to the face today.
Bro, like I almost lost an eye today. Like they had a kicking camp at Auburn today, and they had kickers at each end of the field kicking at each other, kicking toward the 50. And so I was watching the right side, and then when I turned around, it was like bam, right in the eye. So my eye's okay, but yes, I was out there doing this for y'all. I laid it on the line for the family. I went out there and took a ball to the eye. So,
hey, we ain't tell you to do that. You ain't do that for us. You did that for you.
No, that's for the family. I got family.
My God, they're taking balls to the
That has never been within our job descriptions. Take balls to the face, man.
No workers' comp, sir. No workers' comp.
We just have to pause this entire conversation completely. Like I just don't.
Balls to the face.
I just don't understand why we're doing this right now.
Oh boy, talk about an Ayo moment. All right, guys, listen. 2024 opponents have been released.
Yeah.
For all the conference teams. Let's start by just talking about Auburn for a second. The conference schedules is as follows. Here you have it off to the right. Auburn will be playing Oklahoma at home, Texas A&M at home, Vandy at home, Arkansas at home. And for the away games, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, and Missouri. Now, just to give you guys a little bit of an understanding of the criteria, reading this straight from Southeastern Conference's Twitter, it mentions the formula in terms of how these opponents were determined. The first big criteria, as it says, is that each of the existing 14 conference members will play either Oklahoma or Texas home or away in 2024. So if you didn't play Oklahoma, you're playing Texas either home or away, depending on how your schedule pans out. So the second one is that no school will travel to the same location to which it traveled in 2023. This kind of almost explains why we got Bama and Georgia on the road this year. Many people figured that they would fix the whole Bama and Georgia make one home, one away, but this was the criteria. So obviously we have to play Bama and Georgia again on the road together. So the third one is the 2024 SEC opponents were determined on two primary factors: traditional opponents and balance of overall schedule strength. And of course, as we all know, the SEC is eliminating divisions in 2024. Instant reaction to this. I will start with you. Your thoughts on this schedule? How you feel about it?
I mean, first and foremost, I think the Auburn football Twitter put this out before the full schedule was released. They had seen it already, but they said that we would be welcoming Oklahoma to the Plains. So they're going to be coming to Jordan-Hare Stadium. So, it's good to see a new fan base coming into play in our stadium. So that's going to be exciting for them to be able to see what a real college football stadium looks like, and a real fan base fired up about, things with real traditions instead of wagons tipping over at the beginning of the games and stuff
that
like
damn
that.
wagon in Oklahoma.
Yeah. So going to be good. Not happy about seeing another red and white team enter our stadium because I'm kind of sick of them.
Good point.
But yeah, going to be looking forward to seeing that situation happen. In fact, 3 of the 4 home teams I just noticed are basically red and white. Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Arkansas are some variation of red and white. So it's going to be disgusting to see those colors in our stadium so frequently. But hey, welcome to the SEC. Outside of that, Bama and Georgia away. Listen, it is what it is. People were in this big uproar about us losing that rivalry, but you got it right. We got it again for 2024. And we will see if we can finally get a win on the road versus one or both of those guys next year, year 2 under Coach Hugh Freeze. And then finally, Missouri may be looking to get some get back from, the fumble that cost them the game in overtime in our stadium. We're going to be traveling to Missouri. I haven't had a chance to go to the Salad Bowl that they play in, so maybe we get a chance to travel down to Columbia, Missouri, and Kentucky. Right? Not a football school, but they do have a football team, so we get an opportunity to play them on the road. So looking forward to seeing basketball fans in a football stadium and what that's like. So yeah.
B. Will, thoughts on this schedule, man?
I mean, it's whatever. I don't know, man. I don't know how any of these teams are going to be in 2 years. I'm glad we play somebody different. Their acknowledgement that they attempted to balance the schedule is an acknowledgement that we have been getting hosed on our strength of schedule for the last 10 to 15 years or so. Bama and Georgia. Here's Vanderbilt, here's Missouri, here's Kentucky to make up for it. We're sorry. That's basically what does this say about the East then over the last 10 to 15 years? Missouri, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt are on Georgia's schedule every year. Tennessee's schedule every year.
Oh, this is a very Georgia-like schedule.
Every year. We're getting there are some layups in there, and I'm welcome. I am welcome to the layups on the schedule. Glad that we have Vandy on the schedule. Glad that we have. Yeah, I know Kentucky could be better, right? But not really. It's still Mark Stoops. It's the same program, baby. Ain't nothing gonna be changed. It's the same thing going on over there. Defense gonna be good. Offense gonna be blah. and that's the game over there. So, no, I don't think Drinkwitz is going to have anything better going to Missouri. I just don't. I expect it to look a lot like it looked in 2017. We went in there and rolled them up and folded them up and put them in the bottom drawer of the dresser. So I expect us to do the same thing again in 2024. The only thing I think I'm a little sad at losing LSU. I'm a little sad at losing LSU because I want some get back. Because now we have to, if we want to get back in the win column against LSU, we have to do it now.
Yep.
And I want to leave. We have to do it there.
Yep. Even LSU. Better. Even better.
Which would be fantastic. However, they're a year ahead as far as them turning over their roster, new coach and all that. They're a year ahead of us in that. That's an uphill battle just as far as talent and continuity goes. So I'm a little like, we talked about this when we talked about schedule before. The 4 games we have against equally or pretty much more talented teams, LSU is one of those. I don't think LSU is the one I would pick as one of the likely upsets we can pull off. So I'm a little worried we won't get that win against LSU before we take a little break from them. But it's all good, man. I wonder why they gave us Texas A&M again. Are they trying to make this a thing? I don't know. I would have preferred one of the Mississippi schools to Texas A&M, and not because they're talented, but because I really, really want to beat Ole Miss year in and year out. Like, really. I want to rub that in. They were way too mouthy about the Hugh Freeze thing and Lane coming and not coming. I want to beat them soundly year after year after year, so there can never be any question. Y'all are inferior to us program-wise, university-wise, head coach-wise, all of that. Y'all were never really comparing. We just had to have a historic low for y'all to be even in frame with us in the picture. But now this is going to take a year off, and they won't feel the pain as steadily as every year. But overall, I think it's a more balanced schedule than we usually get. I'm glad to see some mixing it up. I don't know what Oklahoma's going to be in 2024, so let's just watch them in 2023 and see how they do.
Yeah, I think the Ole Miss game this year is going to be very important, knowing that they drop off our schedule for sure. They come to Jordan Hare. That's going to be a big deal, given the present between those two programs. Mike G, weigh in, man. What's your thoughts?
I'm counting wins, and I see at least 3 on the schedule. So, everybody's looking at this differently. I just feel like Auburn got a good draw this year. I don't think this is, beside Bama and Georgia on the road again, which they'll probably fix in 2025. I'm assuming. I like this schedule. I like Oklahoma coming to the. I like Oklahoma coming to Jordan Hare. I like them coming to the Plains. I think that is going to be epic. Do we know, has Oklahoma ever played at Auburn? Has that ever been a thing?
I don't know.
We've only played them twice. Somebody put in the chat earlier. We've only played them twice, and they've both been Sugar Bowls.
Yeah, I remember we got destroyed at one of those, right? I think Sean White was the quarterback. So, I love that. I loved could there be 2 more like super traditional schools playing each other than Auburn and Oklahoma? I love this. I love this matchup. I think it's going to be fun. Seeing all the Oklahoma people come to town. I bet you they travel well for that game. I bet you. Listen, right now, book your hotel rooms now. If you can, for that game. That is going to be a fantastic home game.
But we don't know when it's going to be, but still.
Yeah. I'm just saying, book all the weekends. Just roll the dice. Take a chance, right? You can cancel. It's 2 years out. The rest, as far as the rest of the schedule is concerned, obviously, teams Auburn has played before. We'll see how Kentucky and Missouri are. I expect Bobby Petrino to do all the same stuff he tried to do 10 years ago with Lamar Jackson and it to not work. So Texas A&M should have fallen off by then. I don't know. Maybe if Hugh Freeze has the ball rolling by this time, this could be an exciting season. This could be a really exciting season. It'll be, I just feel like it's time for some Auburn coach to solve the going into Tuscaloosa and getting a win problem.
Or Georgia.
Right? Man, come on, dude. One of them. Give me one. I'll go 1 for 2, and I'm happy. Beat one of these people on the road, and I would be a happy guy. But ultimately, this is about what I expected when they shot it down. And it's funny to me. They took LSU off the schedule, and I had tweeted when they were voting about 9 conference games for this season. Hey, imagine having the last 3 national titles on your champions on your schedule every year, and then people getting mad at you because you didn't want to play a 9th conference game. Right. Can you imagine if LSU was on the schedule and then somehow ended up being away? Like, oh man, I mean, it would be that would make this absolutely untenable. That absolutely would have been the hardest schedule in the country by far. It might have been the hardest schedule in the history of college football. Alabama, Georgia on the road, give LSU home or away, and then you're adding Oklahoma, plus you got to play Texas A&M. And then remember, there's a Power 5 non-conference in here somewhere. Do we know who we play?
Cal
again. Cal again, right? Yeah. Like, so come on, I mean, they would be coming to Jordan Air this time,
right?
But still, yikes, that would be a terrible schedule. So I don't know. 8 conference games seems to be working out. I think that if there had been a 9th conference game, Auburn would have got the short end of the stick and ended up getting LSU or Tennessee.
No,
it would have been all Florida.
But they said they were considering strength of schedule. So I don't think there's any way you put all 3 of those on our schedule again, which is look how forgiving they were. We got the 3 worst teams in the East on our schedule. I don't think if you add one more, give us a Mississippi. Yeah, give us South Carolina.
You're using common sense, right? They're not going to do that when they put this schedule together, is what I'm saying. There's always going to be something on there that doesn't make sense. And because it's Auburn, they're going to do 2 things that don't make sense. And then say, get over it. Yeah, so I think it was smart to stick to 8 games, particularly for Auburn. My personal feelings is they would have got the short end of the stick if it had been a 9th conference game, and that schedule would have been completely untenable, and it would have been one of those things where Auburn's going to be in the hunt for something actually, and it's that one more game that you had to play that knocks you out of the SEC championship or out of playoff contention. So, no, 8 is just fine. Thank you. We added Texas and Oklahoma. We're good. We're good, fam. The conference was hard enough already.
Is there a team you wouldn't mind booting off in favor of another, looking at the schedule?
Yes, absolutely. There's a couple. There's a couple. But if I had to pick one, I would boot Georgia.
In favor of
anyone but Georgia.
Anybody else, literally.
Well, it's an away game, so we couldn't go to either of the Mississippis with this schedule.
Okay,
so
fair enough.
It'd have to be.
LSU,
Florida.
We couldn't go to LSU because we're going to LSU this year.
Oh, so they would have to. Yeah, okay. So this team would.
No, wait a minute. We have both of the Mississippis at home this year, so we could get one of the Mississippis.
Okay.
So I take.
Give me Ole Miss or Mississippi State. You know what? Mississippi State. They're more likely to be in chaos by the time
I want those
them.
Bulldogs. I want Bulldogs.
We're going to trade Bulldogs. Okay.
It's not the Georgia variety.
Yeah, right. Start Vegas or whatever the hell they call it. Right. Like I would take the Mississippi State. They're more likely to be a miss. They're certainly more likely to be a miss.
Pun intended. All right, B.
I don't want to give up the Georgias. I don't want to give up the tough games. I don't mind the tough games because it really lets us know who we are and where we are as a program. That's what those tough games have been for us for the last, at the very least, since Gene Chizik was here. Is if you're good enough to get over the hump with these teams. Now, it hadn't been away. We haven't beaten Georgia or Alabama away outside of Cam Newton. So let's be clear here. We haven't been competitive away at either one of those stadiums in a long time. But I still like having both of them on our schedule. And this is something I hope we keep going forward once they get to the 2025 schedule is I want 2 regulars, and I want both of those regulars to be Georgia and Alabama. I want that. I want that because if we are good enough, we've talked about this plenty. If we are good enough, we're going to beat those teams. And my guess is maybe at least the very least compete with them away, and we're gonna be in a playoff conversation now that we're going to 12 team playoff. There's no world in which we beat Georgia away, lose to Alabama away, come down with at least 9 or 10 wins, and don't get in that playoff. That's it.
When does the playoff go into effect?
2024 season.
Or
Yep.
Yeah.
So
So
this
this is the
after the
playoff
2024.
season.
This is the playoff season.
Yeah, you're right. That does change the calculus.
So the strength of schedule that the 12-team playoff says they take into account, because there are conference winners and there are at large bids. Listen, that's it. We just have to look strong enough after our schedule. So kind of what Tennessee did last year, that's what I think is Tennessee would have been in a 12-team playoff. They beat Bama close. They lost to Georgia embarrassingly, but you beat a team that was really good. You murdered mostly everybody else. You murdered the LSU West champion. Excuse me, the SEC West champion LSU. You did enough. You're in the 12-team playoff. I like the big boys on the schedule because it at least gives you the ability to go, hey, you know what? That was a really tough schedule. We like how you beat them, competed against them. All right, you're in. That's it. I like that calculus for the schedule. So I don't want to lose Georgia. I don't mind keeping the cupcakes because as long as you have the Georgias on there, you'll be forgiven for having some easy teams on there. I like the schedule as is. But if I wanted to see us play Florida just because we don't play them enough. That's it. That's the only reason I want to see us play Florida. South Carolina, we played them too much in the last 3 years, honestly. I'm tired of playing them. 2020, 2021, and it was not 2022, but 2 years straight. That's enough, South Carolina. That's enough. I've seen enough of them. Tennessee or Florida is great just because we haven't played.
Jesus Christ,
man. I know, right? It's crazy. So yeah, that's what I would want to see change. But I don't want to boot Georgia for that. I don't know who to boot. I don't know.
I would get either Texas A&M or Kentucky out of here in favor of Florida.
I was going to say.
Okay, I'm with you on Texas A&M. I'm tired of playing them too.
The playoff argument is a compelling one, right? So understand it. Yeah, I would put Georgia back on, and I would boot Kentucky
in favor of.
Again, anybody else?
I would want to see Florida on the schedule, and either
Florida
Texas A&M or Kentucky can take a hike on
They're
that.
still likely to be a mess as well.
It could. This year will tell us what's going to happen with Florida.
Exactly. Yeah,
this
right.
year is going to tell us a lot about Florida.
Yeah,
selfishly, I want Florida because we have the Amen Corner podcast.
Yeah,
we would actually, have that whole situation.
I want some get back on them that year we lost to them in 2019.
Yeah, listen, the Swamp is a fantastic away game. And, I want that for the players. I want the players to be able to go play in an environment like that, because once you get that sort of experience, particularly, whether you win or lose, right? I think that it does something to players to go in to an environment like that and compete. So getting the opportunity, this is what being in the SEC is about, right? It's about being able to go into these incredible venues with the most passionate fans in the country and lay it all on the line for 60 minutes. So adding Texas and Oklahoma, two more incredible sporting venues with very passionate fan bases, strong rivalries. We get to resurrect the Texas A&M Texas rivalry. Oklahoma Texas also rivalry. I'll be interested to see which one of those they favor in the scheduling every year. Is it the Red River rivalry, or is it whatever Texas and Texas A&M had, big brother, little brother? Right.
Yeah. So, that's interesting though, right? Because if their options that they were weighing out was one permanent for the 8 and then 3 permanent for the 9. Was that, am I saying that right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's supposed to be 3 and then 6 rotating. Yeah.
Right. So if they're going to stay with 8, your point here is which of those 2 is going to happen every year? Is it Red River or is it going to be the resurrection of Texas A&M?
I don't think that Texas A&M gives a damn about playing Texas.
I don't think so. Right. I think maybe some of the older fans, like the rivalry or whatever, but I don't think newer fans of Texas and Texas A&M really care about that rivalry being resurrected. But I can't see a year of college football that doesn't include the Iron Bowl and the Red River rivalry.
Correct. Right. Now, publicly, Texas A&M will say, "Oh yeah, we want to play every year. We can't wait to resurrect it." But internally, they don't want that.
Right.
They paid $60 million to get away from these dudes. Yeah, they don't want it. They don't care if they play them, right? So it's going to be. I want to see what this does to Texas A&M's recruiting. I want to see if they lose whatever advantage they built in recruiting over the last 10 years. With Texas joining the SEC and being able to have that flex as well too. I mean, they came to the SEC and immediately produced a Heisman. I think they have one SEC West or none. No, they haven't won the SEC West.
Nobody different has won the West. Missouri won the East a couple times, but nobody different has won the West. It's been Bama, LSU, and Auburn a couple times.
Okay. So, yikes, man.
Yeah.
That's too bad for them. But like I said, I don't think they want to play Texas. I don't think they care. So if it were me, knowing that, if I were Commissioner Sankey, I would say prioritize the Red Rivalry.
Yeah, I think that's probably what he is going to do for sure.
Yeah. Now, here's another question. I mean, that's been a neutral site game, hasn't it, for a long time?
Yes. Yes,
I'll
in Dallas.
Yeah, I would be interested to see if that holds.
It would. I think their contract.
Or do you go home and home because it's a conference game?
I mean, it was a conference game then. I think it's. So I don't know contractually what they're like because I know Florida and is it Kentucky
Georgia
play in Jacksonville?
Florida,
Georgia. Excuse me, play in Jacksonville. That's a contractual thing. Like they are contracted to be in that city and play that game for I don't know for
next
35
years.
There was talk about moving that to a home and home and somehow breaking that contract. I read some articles where they were talking about essentially trying to get out of that.
That'd be interesting, right? So the question that they'd have to ask themselves from a revenue standpoint is, does it make more sense to do that? I don't know, man, because listen, Iron Bowl used to get played in Birmingham and they were just like, hey, we're going to go to the home and home situation. I think it adds to the rivalry for it to be home and home. Like
it does.
Exactly.
The neutral site situation is cool because it's, usually like a bigger stadium and they're going to have like a different kind of environment. But man, nothing beats welcoming, your rival into your home stadium and having that hostility of that home crowd and that back and forth passionate this year, we're going to come beat you at your spot type of thing. Like that's just different kind of energy, man.
I agree.
It is. I also like the neutral site for a couple of reasons. One is, well, like you said, usually it's a bigger, better stadium. Like with the Iron Bowl, Legion Field had been in decline for a while. Like our stadiums are now better. Like I don't know what Protective Stadium is like in Birmingham. I know it's
smaller.
It's not on par.
Yeah.
It's not on par with those.
So it's a nice stadium, but it's
stadium.
smaller than both of or either our stadium or the one in Tuscaloosa. So
correct.
Yeah. But like Jacksonville, they just released all of the artwork and the concept stuff. They're doing a brand new like stadium, like outside the stadium, city walks, shops, all that type of stuff. So it's going to be probably better than each campus's on-campus experience. So that's a win. We know AT&T Stadium is better a venue than either one of theirs. So when I think about that and I look at the crowd when they play those games, right? And you got half is one color and half is the other, I think that's electric. I would love to have the option of going and playing a neutral site game against your rival if it's going to be a better venue than what you have available to play it in currently, and if it's big enough to support the entire fan base on either side, the way those stadiums are.
What you usually lose with those neutral site games, though, is the tailgating aspect, because most of those professional stadiums won't allow you to tailgate on their premises. So you have to have some sort of off-site tailgating situation, and it just doesn't feel like college football. It feels like a bowl game almost, and it's just not the same energy, man. So, and that's another reason why, bringing it back to like Birmingham, there's people who have issues with playing games away from Legion Field is, Protective Stadium won't allow you to tailgate. And so it's just like, it doesn't feel like a college venue.
The University of Phoenix Stadium out in Glendale pulled that as well too. And I think that's unacceptable for a site that hosts a major bowl game and or national title. It's crazy. No tailgating. Like that's such an integral part of the college football experience is being able to tailgate. And especially if it's a national title game and I travel all that way and pay thousands of dollars for a ticket and hotel room and plane flights, and you're telling me I can't tailgate? That's nuts.
I think tailgating, in my opinion, encourages more fans to just be in that area. Like, okay, I'm not going to go to the game, but I'm going to just pull up to the stadium. I just pull up to the stadium and watch out. Like, it just changes. College football and the tailgating experience, in my opinion, go hand in hand.
Well, it hurts the city in general, right? So if you think about this, what do they say? The population of Auburn B grows to like 400,000 or 500,000 on game day or something crazy like that.
It's the third largest city in the state on game day. I think
on game day, right? Yeah, it is definitely not on non-game days, not even close. Right. So when those people don't come to your site for the game, the local economy is losing.
Yeah, that's right.
Because not everybody can get a ticket if it's a big game, but people are content to come just be a part of the atmosphere if they can, like Ike said, via tailgating.
Yeah.
So not allowing that at a neutral site or picking a site that doesn't allow that is very anti-college football to me. And I would rather see them do away with it if that's going to be the case and move to a home and home.
Yeah, like I said, and I don't know what the situation is at the stadium in Dallas as to whether or not they allow the tailgating there. I'm just speaking from the experience of what I've heard about, like what's the Mercedes Benz in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't allow tailgating there.
It's
right?
crazy, and listen, it's dangerous up there, but like, it's hard for me to kind of accept that, right? Like that, if you're gonna travel, and let me tell you, visiting these neutral site games, because Legion Field, we all know the deal, right? With the Iron Bowl, this wasn't really a neutral site game,
right? Exactly,
right.
It wasn't. So one fan base had a significant advantage in being able to get there first. They were buying tickets first. There's no cost to them at all. Now, it's not as if Auburn fans had to travel, 3 or 4 states over, but still, it was not a neutral site game.
Right.
Yeah. So I don't know that there is a neutral site option that makes a ton of sense, because the only other city that you probably could have it in would be Montgomery.
Mm-hmm.
And
which
that's still closer to
you can
Auburn.
you can argue that's Auburn's favor.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So
right.
I just don't know that there's a place that makes a ton of sense to go to that's in between both of them that has a big enough venue for it to make sense for the tickets. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's to me, like I said, I just think there are still some logistical things that they need to work out with this scheduling to do not only what's in the best interest of the team, but what's in the best interest of the fans. Because traveling to these away games is not a small thing for a lot of people. Prior to the War Report, like, how many away stadiums had you been to, right, in the SEC?
Only 2.
Only 2, right?
Yeah.
Like, and not a lot of people get the privilege of being able to travel to these away games. And so if you do have the resources and the time to travel there, right? Because it's not always tenable to go down there for a day and come back.
Right.
That's not, man. I don't know how else to say it. Depending on what time the game gets over, there's no way you're coming back that night. So you're spending at least one night in another city. And it's expensive, and I think that they need to do right by the fans and at least say, hey, if I want to see Oklahoma play, once every other year, they come to me.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. The great thing about living in Phoenix was because Glendale was right there. We got all these incredible Fiesta Bowls. So I got to see Saquon Barkley's last game. I had a lot of friends who were big Penn State fans, and he didn't disappoint. I think he had like an 86-yard touchdown in that game. He went off on Washington. It was amazing to be able, just as a fan of football, to go watch that game and have that opportunity in my city for nothing but the cost of a ticket and some gas.
Yeah.
And that's what it should be like for people in state. So don't take that. That's the only reason I was in favor of a 9th conference game, maybe. Was for that reason, B. Like, it's an opportunity, one extra opportunity for people to be able to see a team that they would not normally see sooner.
Yeah.
Right? You add that, you give that experience to the fans, and then the home game revenue for whoever hosts.
Yeah. Because
it's not just like, I think they have some kind of revenue split for these neutral site games, some kind of deal, right? But the local economies for the schools don't get the benefit when you take it to a neutral site.
Right.
That's why I'm not a big fan of it. The businesses, if you've never been to Auburn, the businesses in Auburn are the heart of Auburn. Those places, even when we were in school, guys, like, you remember what it's like. Everything was catered to us.
Right.
As students and as fans. You remember they came out the Tiger card and they were like, you can charge things to your student ID.
Buddy.
Had a lot of friends who filled out
that first year that Tiger card, my dad was like, well, what in the hell? Until he found out you can make it a debit and not a credit.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, they changed it. No, it was the ascending or the descending balance.
Right, that's what they called
Yeah,
it. That's what they called it. Yeah.
Yeah. You get
Woo.
that bursar bill at the end of the
Mrs. Walker was like, you know what we're doing?
Yeah, descending. Here's $200. Don't spend it all in the same place. What was that place? Was it Jimmy's Car Stereo? That's it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. People were buying rims and subs at Jimmy's.
That's crazy, bro.
It was nuts. I had this one friend. His name was Darnell. He showed up and he had some knock in his trunk. I was like, bro, your trunk is beaten. He was like, the Tiger car, man, you can use it at Jimmy's. And I was like, oh yeah, you're going to be out of school next semester. You're not going to be able to
done.
that.
You're done.
Take out some extra loans, partner. But like I said, again, when people come to town, the businesses benefit from all that increased traffic. And I know this is not on the same scale, but this is why it's such a big deal when a city gets a Super Bowl. Right? It is a $1 billion impact to that city's economy for that week.
Right.
$1 billion. So, when this is why the NFL gets so mad when cities know that this, you get Super Bowl bids so far in advance because you have to prepare your infrastructure for the influx of people that are coming in to spend money. Right. So what happened in Phoenix? Well, they got a Super Bowl, and when they got another one, the city of Scottsdale, I think it was when they played the Patriots, I think it was 2015-ish, right? Like the city of Scottsdale was so the city of the NFL was so unhappy with the city of Glendale because they had done so little between Super Bowls to build anything out in Glendale, right? That they were like, you know what? We're still having it here, but we're going to move all the Super Bowl activities to downtown into Scottsdale. And Glendale ended up not getting as much money as they would have. And it was so sad because it was just like, all y'all had to do was fix the cracks in the road and, build a Top Golf and put something out there, for people. They had like 8 years. Yeah. And they knew that we're getting the Super Bowl, and it was just they did nothing. So it is an honor to be able to have a big time team come to your city to play a game. And I hope that the SEC takes this into mind when they look at the scheduling moving forward. Again, I would not be against or propose. I wouldn't be against a ninth conference game for that reason. Yeah, I just wouldn't. Yeah, I just think, hey, man, it's extra revenue, it's extra ticket sales, it's extra everything.
I think doing it this way guarantees that you get to play a team that you normally wouldn't because you have less teams locked in on your schedule that you got to play every year. So
yeah, first time matchups.
Yeah, so the way they did it this year is going to be interesting to see how long it takes certain teams to roll off of your schedule. Like how long, like will we play Georgia in 2025? But again, that's something we got to worry about down the road. Listen, let's pause, take a break, guys. But before we do, you are definitely watching the Midweek Rapport. Big news: the 2024 schedule has been released for all the conference teams. We want to hear your thoughts. We're definitely going to read the comments when we come back, but share this content on social media, Facebook, Twitter. Smash that like button, subscribe to our channel. Let's pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Rapport is brought to you by our generous sponsors. auburnsports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn sports, head over to auburnsports.com. Harmon Mechanical, a heating and air company offering premier service to the Auburn area and surrounding areas. Give them a call at 334-219-0717 or head over to their website at harmonmechanical.com. Let them know the War Rapport sent you. Harmon Mechanical. We're there when you need air. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. For all of your motor oil and related products, head over to wareagleoil.com. Thank you, as always, to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who have already come on board with memberships. We appreciate it so much. If you want to join and you want to get that paywall content, which is right now mostly film review. We're doing a lot of film review in the off season that happens on Thursdays. So tomorrow I'll be getting back in the lab doing some more film review. You got to be a member to watch that content. You see the cost right there. Go ahead and click that join button when you are on our page. If you want to gift someone a membership, you can do that right now. Thank you to Auburn Dad for gifting some memberships during this live. We appreciate that. You get one free month of membership on him. If anybody else wants to do that, you can do that right now from the live chat. We give away stuff at all of these shows. So hashtag get your weight up to be able to get this War Report t-shirt, which is sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Head over to wareagleoil.com once again if you want to be able to support the people who support us. But hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat to join the free giveaway drawing. We'll do that drawing here in about 20 minutes. The Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, is where you can listen to audio-only versions of our content and some audio-only content. So make sure that you head over to wherever you listen to podcasts to be able to get in on that. Got some great content. I can't wait. I actually already got text messages from them about this reveal of the opponents. I can't wait to talk about this on the Amen Corner. Oh, it's going to be so great. I'm going to give everybody a hard time about it, and it's going to be wonderful. Make sure you guys tune into that conversation. That'll be coming up very soon. Had some more gifted memberships. Frankie, I see you in there. Appreciate you gifting the memberships right there. But yeah, man, let's get back into this conversation, though.
AU alum 94 says, B Will will love this. Tuned into the War Report while watching the Yankee Mets game. Bet MGM on the Yanks. Bring it home.
Yeah.
I had
Mets are a mess right now. Mets are an absolute mess.
are.
I'll be betting the Yankees.
I totally enjoyed doing baseball last baseball season. It was a lot of fun. The baseball props were a lot of fun. I was sharing a lot of my parlays with B, and I had a surprising amount hit. But like, I love the baseball parlays. Again, you cannot do much here in the state of Alabama. So hopefully next voting cycle they give us the ability to do that here, because it is a lot of fun. And Prize Picks has some props. You know, you guys know, supporter of the War Report. So you get your baseball props in and Prize Picks, because we can do that in Alabama.
For sure.
Yes.
Indeed. Oda Smith asked, hey, didn't 5-star tight end Martavius Collins commit? Yes, he committed a while back, but I don't have him as a 5-star tight end.
He was a 3-star, I think, when he committed. I don't know if he's bumped up to 4.
Oda just said, I'm giving him 2 more stars. Auburn bump.
He's a 5-star in my book. No, he's not a 5-star.
Yeah,
but
definitely 3.
He committed a while back, but he recently, there's some articles that came out this week saying that he's pretty much just shut down his recruitment, that he is locked into Auburn. So I think that's what's been the latest with him. But yes, Martavius Collins is part of the 2024 commitment class.
Right. So we got Walker White, Jamarian Burnett, Amon Lane, Jaden Lewis, Kinsley Falston, Martavius Collins, and Bryce King. Those are the 7 commits Auburn has right now. So
that's great.
I think
we had an eyeball emoji from Hugh.
Yeah.
So something else is coming soon.
2 3-stars, and then 5 4-stars in this class.
Yes.
Be on the lookout. I think that what's the kid from Tuskegee area, linebacker? Can't think of his name right now, but he's supposed to be committing tomorrow. So we'll see about that. Brian Hancher. Got to hear. Have you guys ever done any out of context sound bites?
Is Joseph Phillips the guy you're trying to think of?
Joseph Phillips. Yes.
Yeah, okay. But no, we have not done any out of context sound bites, but those would be hilarious.
Yeah, if you want to hear it, just go to the message boards, because everything they put there from this show is out of context. Everything.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That was pretty great, Mike. I like that one. P-Pass says, remember Venables talk trash on Auburn.
Oh, buddy.
Okay. Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean trash on Auburn?
When
you don't remember
they were talking about whether or not he was going to be the coach.
Oh,
he was
that
basically
trash,
saying,
though?
I don't know
No.
I'm going to be reporting to, that kind of thing.
What is it?
Well,
what
he
you
didn't.
He talked truth
This
on
was
Auburn.
not. Yeah, he did. That was the truth. He volunteered that story when he was trying to compliment Oklahoma's infrastructure and organization. He said, well, I was talking to my daughter and I said, well, I don't want to not take it because I'm scared. And she says, well, if you're not scared, then why didn't you take the Auburn job? That's how we knew he was up for the Auburn job, because in his acceptance speech at Oklahoma, he mentioned his daughter referenced, why didn't you take the Auburn job? He said, well, they didn't have the organization like we have here. Basically, he was saying, I don't know what they got going on. I've been asking him for money and him for recruits, and I don't want to do all that. Do we think that was a lie? Was that trash talk? I don't think that was trash talk.
I
Yeah.
think that what I mean. Listen, Coach Hugh Freeze ain't had no problems.
Yeah,
He hasn't. He has not. But Coach Hugh Freeze is likable. Like it's the job that you have to do
I guess
here.
my point is maybe that it's a Venables issue and not an Auburn one.
And it was a Harsin issue as well.
Hey, listen,
Listen, if Hugh Freeze got the MJ GOAT gene about him, he's like, oh yeah.
Listen,
I
man.
don't like that you said that.
I
So,
predict
yeah.
Venables is going to be on the hot seat in 2 years.
I'm not. I can't go there.
2024?
I can't go there, man. I can't go there.
I ain't going to be on hot
I
seat in
can't.
2 years.
This is his year. I don't think year one for a brand new coach, especially one where the whole basin was emptied out of talent when half the team followed Lincoln Riley. Like, is that really how we're gonna judge what type of coach
is going to
he
be
is?
important for Venables.
This year.
This
is
year
the
is going to be important.
I hope he can hire a good offensive coordinator. I hope they get
That's-
it together offensively.
I hope they suck and we beat the brakes off of them.
I hope they're good and we beat the brakes off of them.
I don't care whether
No,
they're
I
good
don't
or
think
bad.
it
I
matters.
just want the brakes to not exist
of
on
them.
them.
Period. Any scenario where we beat the brakes off of them for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think Venables is going to have a hard time, and coming to the SEC is not going to make it any easier for him. Right? Defensive head coaches, they can be successful certainly, but
he can't limp into the SEC. He has to show something promising.
It might be rough going for him.
Hey, Texas can't either. Were they 8-4? 8-4.
Oklahoma
the most
would've
talent
killed-
in the
Oklahoma
conference, they
would've
went
killed them at
8-4
last year.
Man,
That's all I'm
come on.
saying.
Yeah,
They both on
solid season.
getting they in trouble. Both of them in trouble.
This is definitely a very big year for both coaches because of what's coming the very next season as far as the SEC schedule starting. I don't know if you're not at least a game above 500. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I just don't like you can't go 6-6 next year and feel as if you're not going to just get 1 year in the SEC and be out of there.
Yeah, I just feel like Lincoln Riley, brought a certain pedigree to that program offensively, and I think he was underrated as a coach. Based on their inability to be able to get over the hump, right? Like, but he went and he produced the Heisman immediately somewhere else.
He would have produced that Heisman at Oklahoma, though. It was the same guy.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And they don't play pass defense in the pack, so it's probably easier there. Yeah.
So okay. So you come around. All right.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I get it, but I still think he's a great offensive coordinator. I think he's a really good offensive
I don't
mind,
know how many people looked at him and was like, he's a Heisman winner the next year at Oklahoma had he stayed. Like, it was a much more
a lot of people.
Caleb Williams,
a lot of people thought Caleb Williams was going to be that. That's why he was such a highly touted transfer guy.
Yeah,
like everybody thought Caleb Williams was going to be the next coming of
the next year, though.
And then he
not remember the hype Caleb Williams had when he hit the transfer portal.
Yeah,
like everybody knew where he was likely going, but that hype was serious around that.
Yeah, and then he went to a program that has been producing Heismans at QB. So the expectation that Riley set was the next Heisman is always on the way. Just wait. Right.
I mean, listen, people thought Spencer Rattler was going to win a Heisman at Oklahoma
because he was at Oklahoma.
I was about to say, there's just something about the.
I guess when you put it that way, then
yeah. He built a reputation for being able to produce that, that's right? True. And then he went to USC and then validated it. I mean, it got easier, as B was trying to point out, right? It got easier for him,
and they didn't win the conference.
That's true,
and they lost to Tulane in the bowl game.
God, man, you know what? I mean, the defense in the pack.
To be fair, he was hurt in that game, though.
He was. And they don't forget they added the Biletnikoff winner from the previous year. So it's not like the 5 stars. Yes. God. The 5 stars that they had at Oklahoma that dispersed, so right? Crazy, Oklahoma lost 5-star wide receivers and they dispersed and went everywhere. Okay. So it's not like, well, we have a 5-star guy that might be really good. No, the guy who was the best wide receiver in football went to play with the preseason crowned Heisman winner, and you didn't win the worst Power 5 conference in America. And lost to Tulane. Lincoln Riley is what? Man, please.
Hey, you get credit for getting the talent too, right? Like you can't handicap a coach.
Listen, I saw that condo. I saw that condo that the former Georgia player, current USC player, tweeted out in pictures. Once he transferred from Georgia to USC, getting the talent at USC is not quite the feat that it may have been at Oklahoma. Let's just say that.
Yeah, that's why you go there.
I'm curious to
Right,
see.
yeah,
I'm
I agree.
curious
Yeah,
to see
that's
what
why you go there.
USC looks like when they go to the Big Ten. That's I'm curious to see what they look like once they leave the Pac-12.
After the
It's a
5-hour
step-
flights to the East Coast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
The Big Ten has the most ridiculous conference in the world right now.
It's
Like,
so
I
ridiculous.
think about what we're going to have to experience next year as fans playing the Cal game, right? They're going to have to do that multiple times a year with some of these folks, with people who are on opposite coasts, because somebody's fan base is going to be mad.
Basketball is going to be real crazy.
Somebody tweeted this out. It was the University of Southern, not UCLA. UCLA tweeted out. Somebody made a graphic for their travel in the 2024 season when they're playing their first season there. They go to Hawaii, back to LA. They go to Penn State, back to LA. They play 5 away games. 5. One's Hawaii, which is already crazy. I mean, it's a local flight for LA, right? But it's still a long flight. And they play 4 games within the Midwest and East Coast. Nuts. Like, it makes no sense for them to jump to that conference.
I don't even understand.
They're gonna be
Like, we
spending all
talked
extra
about
money
this
on
before.
charters.
We talked about this before with basketball players, right? It's worse in basketball, but I don't understand how players take classes during their season. Like, I don't know how it's possible to keep up with the practices and the travel necessary and still go to class. Like, that's a lot,
Traveling.
man.
Yeah, well, I think they have traveling tutors. I mean, now with the advent of technology, right? There's a lot of stuff they can do virtually, right?
Man, get out of here, bro.
I mean, they have every single tool possible available to them to be able to do this. So, like, I get what you're saying. Like, it would be hard, but they do everything they can to make it easy for them. That ain't like, yeah, right. Like, they do everything they can to make it easy for them.
By what you mean by everything they can is like, well, it's cool. You don't have to turn in that assignment. You know?
Hey, I ain't gonna say that, right?
I mean, at Auburn, they don't do that. I'm saying at
that's right. That's right.
No, nobody will definitely not link that statement to Auburn. But yeah, I think that they have all the tools available, but still, even with all those advantages, it's still going to be tough. Yeah, it's still going to be tough. It's traveling hard, across the country for who knows how many games, right? Like, I mean, there's a minimum of 5 away games that they're going to have to come east for, right?
That's the other reason that I think I like 8 conference games is because at no point in time are you going to be screwed and have more away games unless you're going to make sure that every team has 5 home games. Then. And I don't even know if you can work that out in the scheduling. It's going to be split home and away, right? Like, you're going to have 4 away, 4 at home. And it's a very equitable distribution of your travel in terms of conference games.
Right.
But if you go to 9, then you're going to have more of one or the other. And then it just becomes, and again, I don't know how it works out, whether or not everybody can always have 5 conference home games. It just feels like a lot, man, to have to try to deal with. So
one thing I was thinking about, we're talking about the home and aways, right? If you have 4 and 4, again, that's manageable. We know what that's like. But what's also been mandated is an out of conference opponent, a Power 5 out of conference opponent.
Yeah.
In our case, we are fortunate that next season, when we have our 4 home games from the conference, we also have our out of conference game. It's a home game because we're playing that away game this year. And again, fortunately, it's a very bad opponent. Well, we expect to be a bad opponent. But if you play 9, you could have the year where you're playing 5 away games in conference, 4 home games, and who knows what your out of conference game is going to be. You could legitimately play 5 away games. Your out of conference game is a neutral site. Right. Or it's a home and away, but it's away. Like, that's a little dicier than I want it to be. I want to be at home for these games. I don't want to watch my team on TV 6 times out of a 12-game season. Like, that's, I mean, I'm gonna watch them every game, but y'all get what I'm saying.
Yeah. I got you. All right, Daniel Moultrie. I'm gonna get to some of these super chats, guys. Daniel Moultrie says 2024 Auburn opponents. He lists the home and away. He says pretty manageable schedule for Hugh in year 2, in my opinion. Pretty manageable, guys. Y'all feel good about Auburn's chances to kind of do some things in 2024 potentially?
So I put a poll in the chat. If you guys are here on YouTube, you can see asking how many conference games do you feel like Auburn can win based upon this schedule? You add Cal to this as the other P5 game that we're going to have at home. Considering what it could have been, what's crazy is because we're Auburn, we're so used to it looking like, the freaking fates that Hercules has to go through. Like it's some ridiculous task to get through our schedule. We're looking like, oh man, Oklahoma, Bama, Georgia, that's not that bad. Texas, it's like we lose LSU, and then all of a sudden we're like, relief. It's still a hard schedule, man. You still got to go to Tuscaloosa. You still got to go to Athens. You still going to get a Texas A&M team that's going to have a bunch of talent, right? And you're going to get, you don't know what you're getting in Oklahoma right now in 2 years from now or 2 seasons from now. So maybe, but like if you're talking about whether or not it's manageable, sure. But we got some work we got to do, man. We got work this year. I think is manageable, but there's still question marks. So let us see what the product on the field is this year before I talk about how manageable the next season is going to be.
I mean, again, there's a great degree of luck too that's involved with this. You got to stay healthy. Oftentimes an injury can make your schedule look either easy or tough, depending on who it happens to. I'm pulling it up again so that we can kind of look at this because we do have some comments here. Ant Robinson says, so with no divisions, will there be a chance we see Bama or Georgia twice? In other words, what's the likelihood of having to play a team twice again?
Well, this is what I talked about the divisions going away. This was the thing that I was saying was potentially going to always happen, is that you're going to have someone play twice, once in the regular season and again in the conference championship. There's a potential that you would play one of those teams and then have to face them again for the conference championship. I don't know that there's a way to get around that unless both of those teams happen to be the outside of the top 2 best teams in the conference that season. Right. So we would have to be one of them, and then you would have to hope that both of them do not occupy one of those other spots.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that some other team isn't going to be that team that's already on your schedule. Right.
The thing that makes this interesting now is it makes it very possible that we could see a Bama or a Georgia in the top 2 because it's going to be really hard. Like LSU kept Bama out of contention last year, right? Like they were the best team in the West.
Right.
It's like each year there's going to be somebody who used to have to get over the Alabama hump. That's why we were sitting here amazed that Texas A&M had a really good season with Johnny Manziel. Like, man, they didn't win the West? No, because it took them a minute to get going. I think they lost to Florida early. They were clearly one of the best teams in the country by the end of the season, but early they didn't get there. You're going to have to get over a hump for that in your conference, in your division. Whoever the best team, the most talented team in your division, you have to get over them. If you can't, you're kind of out of contention, right? Well, under this dynamic, I might just miss that juggernaut altogether. I'm LSU. I might not even have to play Alabama. I don't know if they're going to put Alabama on LSU's schedule every year. They might not. I think Arkansas is a natural rival. Texas is a geographical rival. Now we're talking about what we expect the top 2 teams to be out of each division. Not only is that changed because there's not divisions, but it's changed because the mountain looks different every year. We had the same mountain for Auburn every year. You know you're going to play a more talented LSU, a more talented Alabama, a more talented Georgia. If we win the West, we freaking earned it. I don't want to hear anybody talk about us. Now, that peak is changing a little bit, like even just slightly. I just got done saying this is still a hard schedule, but man, am I glad not to see that LSU peak on that schedule this year. Next 24.
Does the elimination of schedules possibly clear the way for an Alabama-Auburn SEC championship game?
Oh, elimination of divisions. Yeah, definitely could potentially do that.
It does.
Yeah.
What would be crazy is
that'd be nuts,
play the Iron Bowl and then the next week you play them again.
Oh, that sucks. That sucks. I mean, it's great for the rivalry.
I was just thinking about, I was like, there could be a scenario where essentially you lose the head-to-head, but still finish second in the conference.
You got to play them in another week.
And then you would be back in the SEC championship game, depending on how the chips fall.
100% could be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there will be some kind
that'd
of
be the likely. SEC championship game ever, bro.
It's possible, but not probable, because that usually has served as an elimination game
For sure.
one team, right?
That's because it was
Usually-
divisions, though, right? Like, so
Right.
if we both go into that game with, let's
One
just say,
loss.
let's just say both of them are undefeated in that game.
Okay.
You're definitely going to play the next week unless there's
Sure.
another undefeated team.
The
out there.
loser could still finish second in the conference,
Correct.
I guess. Right. Yeah. And then have to go right back into the game.
Hmm.
Depending, I mean, obviously,
it's
a
possible.
lot of things will
It's
have to
just-
happen, but
it's
you know,
because
it's
that's the last
improbable,
because
but
that's
it's
the
possible.
last game of the season. It's just like
yeah. I
like-
don't know. I don't know. I don't even know how improbable it is. I mean, think about it, right? Like, you clean up your schedule, you lose to Bama, and then you end up tied with another team that you won the head-to-head against.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's definitely
Yeah.
possible.
I don't even know if it's improbable. Like, it could. I think you might see that happen a few times in the next 10 years.
Well, I mean, what we're assuming is Auburn's getting good enough to run through our schedule.
Yeah. Or
Right.
listen, not just Auburn, but like any team where normally like they would be eliminated by the loss because of the head-to-head.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
right,
But,
right. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but you already played them, and now you got to go back and play them
I
again.
mean, we literally just did
That
that,
would be-
2017 against Georgia.
Yeah, you might
Yeah,
see a
that
lot
sucked too.
more rematches in the SEC championship game.
Yeah,
for sure, for sure. Otis Smith says 4 pods. Pod 1, Auburn, Bama, Kentucky, Vandy. Pod 2, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina. Pod 3, Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Arky, LSU. Pod 4, Texas, OU. I think some people had a pod similar to this.
Yeah.
Pod 2 looks brutal, if you ask me.
Pod 2 looks pretty rough.
yeah,
I mean, for South Carolina, it's awful.
Yeah, I mean,
in Florida.
I don't think they're pushovers though. I think they add to the toughness of that pod.
Yeah, pod 3
Well, right
is
now
the
they
one
do,
that
yeah.
you want to be in. LSU is mopping that
Yeah.
entire
Yeah.
pod right
Oh,
now.
Pod-
yeah.
Pod 3
They
is
skating on that.
Oof.
I mean, our
Yeah.
pod is half and half, right? So
Yeah.
Kentucky,
Yeah.
I mean, Kentucky's not a slouch, right?
Yeah,
Like that,
I'm
but
telling you.
yeah, so yeah,
Yeah,
pod 3
I-
is the only one that you're sitting there. If you're LSU and that's the pod draw that you get, you're like,
Yeah,
Yes,
thanks,
sir.
guys.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Mhm.
you. Appreciate you. Auburn Dad for Life says boot Dumbo for 4th and Kiffin.
speaking
He
of
would rather have Ole Miss instead of Texas A&M.
Jimothy.
Would not mind that.
Otis Smith says, fellas, what about the Iron Bowl being played at Talladega Super Speedway? I mean, Tennessee and Virginia Tech played at Bristol.
I remember that.
I remember
From
that
a
too.
capacity standpoint, you definitely could fit everybody in that space and it would work. But again, I mean, we'd run into the same situation, I think, of who would really have the home field advantage in that. So
There's very few places you can go in the state.
that's what I'm saying. Like, I just don't. The
Right.
home and home is probably the best scenario. You just play it at one place, play it the other. Just let's keep it that way.
yeah.
Otherwise, we might have. I don't know how many we could have. We might be like 0-15.
And there's
against Nick
literally
Saban.
nothing else in Talladega. Like, that's it. Like, that is that stretch of highway. I've had to travel a few times when I'm not going to the race, but just like trying to travel that stretch of highway is awful that weekend. It is like,
Oh,
that
dude, I
traffic
stay
is-
away. I mean, I
it's
know you can't help it if you got to do stuff, but it's
yeah,
just like
it is brutal trying to travel that. I hate it, and because there's not like multiple routes to get in there. Like at least when you're going to Auburn, right? Like I could take different routes so it divides the traffic a little bit.
Right.
But it ain't. It's only one way in that mud unless you're taking back roads, and I ain't trying to take back roads to Talladega. I'm just not.
Yeah, me either.
So
well, listen, let's get to the giveaway. We're
Yeah.
giving away this T-shirt right here, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. Hashtag get your weight up. Ike's ready to draw. Take it away, Ike.
let's get to this 53. That's it. I don't care. It's 300 people in here, man. I don't care. Listen, man.
Y'all know the
Listen.
drill, man. Y'all know the drill.
Steve Smith.
Hey,
Steve
y'all guys.
Smith.
What up?
Steve, let us know if you're here so we can recognize you and give you your instructions. Be on the lookout for him, guys. Otis Smith says, Emma, just give us, who is this?
Talking about
Is it
Colorado.
Colorado, Clemson,
Oh,
Jerk.
I
it
think it
could be.
means Colorado.
Yeah.
maybe Clemson or Colorado. Who you
I'm
mean, Oda?
assuming he meant Clemson. There's Steve Smith is here, by the way.
Okay.
Hmm.
Steve, do us a favor, sir. We see you here. Do us a favor. We need you to email us business at the War Rapport. That is business at the War Rapport. Give us your physical address and shirt size. That shirt will be on its way to you. Congratulations and thanks again for hanging out with us. We'll grab some more comments, guys. Philip Coleman asks, with this schedule, do y'all think that we could make the playoffs since it's expanding 2024?
Yeah, this is a point B was making, right? And I think that it's a strong one. Yes, I do. I think that if the threshold is 12, yeah, I do. I do think, if they're figuring it out and they're putting it together, there's a core of the team that could be returning for another year, especially offensively. The receivers are young.
Right.
You've got a good stable of young running backs, and you likely return if your quarterback is good. You likely return that person as well, or a quarterback that's you're familiar with. So if they continue to develop, yeah, I do think that. I think it's 100% a possibility. Find a game changer in the portal, and then get a freshman or two to come in, highly touted, and contribute.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's
Top
definitely
12?
possible.
It's
Listen,
possible.
man, if I don't want to put too much on this young man's shoulders, but let's say he doesn't start this year and he learns what he needs to learn to really lead this team, and you get Robbie Ashford in an offense that's humming. Yeah. That could be devastating. So we could go and mop some people up with that young man doing his thing. So
I like that schedule, especially with Robbie Ashford approaching his ceiling in this offense for sure. How many teams you think would make it to? How many teams you think the SEC could get into the college football playoff? And I guess that's something we need to talk about as we look at other teams' schedule.
Yeah, we need to look at some other team schedules too. We'll start figuring that out. Yeah.
In case you guys wondering, we got a lot of this is a Thanksgiving turkey. We're gonna be eating off this turkey for a minute because we're gonna be talking about toughest schedules in the conference. That's for another live for another day. Walt Taylor says, I think the SEC finally got Georgia a competitive schedule.
I didn't even look at their schedule.
Yeah, I didn't look at anybody's schedule except for ours, so I don't really know.
They play Florida in Jacksonville.
Of course.
Okay.
Of course, they play Auburn.
Of course.
They're on the road at Texas.
They're
on the road at Alabama. They play Mississippi State at home.
Yeah. Say less.
They play Tennessee at home. And they're on the road at Kentucky.
That's brutal.
That's not that bad.
Yeah, I mean, they had there were
better.
3 games in there that were intriguing. There were other ones I was like, that's not about I mean, the only difference for me for them in competitive is the right word, is that the bottom end is not as low as what it typically would be.
Who's there?
No Vandy, no Missouri.
5.
Clemson.
It's at Clemson, isn't it?
Oh,
yep. They have Clemson. That's the one that tips it over.
Yeah, man, that's a tough schedule.
That's brutal.
We think so, but honestly, listen, Clemson. I want to say they had a down year. Let's say offense had been lacking there, but they didn't have the transcendent QB prospect.
They have a new OC this year.
They do.
DJ's in Oregon State
together.
Yeah.
What's the kid's name? Is it Klubnik?
Yes.
Klubnik? Right. Yeah. We get to see if but Venables left. I don't know if their defense is still elite. I know they're still getting good recruits, but I do think Venables was at least a great defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Can they hold up?
Their defense was still good last year.
Yeah, they've got enough Jimmies and Joes that I would think, they can field a competitive team. Either way, that is a tough environment to go play in. And they wouldn't be traveling a great distance.
Georgia
to play
versus
the game.
Bama in 24 though is
that's intriguing.
That's
man,
spicy.
I'm telling you, man. I'm looking at that. I'm just like, wow, I think Walt is right here.
Yes, it's competitive. Like I said, I think that he used the correct word there in competitive because, again, they're not going to get Missouri, Vandy, South Carolina, who they've dominated for the most part, all on their schedule in that year. They lose all of them. In return, they get us, Texas, and Bama.
Now Texas doesn't mean anything either.
Well, we were already on their schedule. So let me see who they would have exchanged Bama, Texas, and who would be the other one that they don't typically play on that schedule.
Talking about for this is Georgia.
Yeah,
they got Mississippi State on.
Mississippi State, that'd be the other one. Okay, so
Interesting.
Yeah, Oda comes back and he says he meant Colorado, so he wants to play prime.
Oh, he was a Dion. Okay, all right. He's trying to start stuff.
Everybody who was rumored to be a head coach his last cycle, we want them. Lane Kiffin, we want them. Brent Venables, we want them. Deion Sanders, we want all of them.
Everyone spoke with all of you bums that didn't.
Everybody, hey, Billy Napier, did he turn us down that last search? I want him. I want him.
Get Cristobal in here too.
Yeah, tell Bill Clark to coach somebody.
Get a job, Bill Clark. You're gonna be on our other conference.
Get a job.
He had like back surgery or something. I don't feel all the way good laughing about that. He had his back was messed up.
Coach from the couch. Well, I don't care.
He was a hater. He was an Auburn hater. Okay,
Hugh Freeze was in the hospital coaching. Get a job. I want him.
George Boyd, welcome. Sidelines, welcome. Lanico Wright comes in and says, I believe Texas will beat Bama this year and will be okay in the SEC. This is a game that I think we talked about. This is a lot of people are looking to this game in 2023 for sure when they come into whatever stadium that is in Tuscaloosa and play Bama.
I don't think Texas. Well, okay, let me ask this question to anybody. Why does anybody believe Texas is in position to beat one of the top 5 programs in the country in Alabama, away at Alabama? Is it because we think Alabama slipped on offense?
Because I think Alabama has some serious questions to answer on offense season.
It's early in the season, and they almost got them last year. That's what everybody's looking at. They're looking at, if what's his name doesn't get hurt in that game. Yeah, if Ewers doesn't get hurt in that game and the refs don't hand them some favorable calls, Texas wins that game. But I think there is something to be said about the fact that was an away game for Bama too.
Right.
But what I think makes it in question for me is another year under Sark and Bama getting them early. If it were later in the season and they would have had time to figure it out, then I probably wouldn't feel at all confident in Texas's ability to win that game at Bryant-Denny. But we'll see. I mean, again, early in the season, man, you can't discount it because they're going to have whoever their starting quarterback is going to be. Though it's a home game, this will be the biggest game of that young man's career out the gate.
Thus far.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's a lot of pressure out the gate.
Yeah.
For a team that for the most now they don't have their most potent weapon in their running back coming back, but they are going to be super talented on offense. And the question will be whether or not Kevin Steele has got those boys ready to play. And that's what game 2 on the schedule for them.
Right.
I think they're vulnerable that early in the year. And it's an opportunity for Texas to get them, in my opinion.
Right.
We shall see.
That's all I'm saying. Appreciate that, Lanico. Oda comes back and says, with the Cal game being so late, do you think Coach Hugh Freeze gets this team out there no later than Tuesday night, Wednesday morning for them to adjust to the time?
Yeah,
they never go there.
Their classes don't matter, right? Like Ike said. So
I mean,
go out there whenever.
I don't. So I'm gonna say no because the problem with that is, you have a week of just like, this day is film review, this day is walkthroughs, right? Like, and it's harder to do that stuff.
That's facts.
And keep them on the schedule that they need to with going that early. The time change difference, if they have instilled any discipline in these young men, it won't matter, right? Like, hey, listen, man, take your ass to bed, bro. Like, we got to go out to California tomorrow for a night
these are
game.
well-trained athletes, man. I think that they leave Thursday night.
Yeah.
Get there, get settled, because they actually have to ship equipment ahead of them. Right. As well, too. They've got a lot of equipment they've got to ship. And so they're going to set up meeting rooms at whatever hotel they're staying at. So they can have position meetings and things of that nature. And it'd be hard. You can't leave the night before and do that. Right. So they'll leave Thursday night, they'll have Friday to essentially get settled. They'll find some high school or something where they can go do a walkthrough of sorts, and they'll play the game on Saturday. So
yeah, that's my expectation would be they try to fly out the Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday late Thursday, like Thursday early evening.
Yep.
They'll get on a plane, get out there.
Oda comes back and says, "Nah, picture this 12-team playoff: Auburn versus Alabama at Jordan-Hare Stadium."
So with the 12-team playoff, they're not doing home fields, are they? For that first round?
If you because it starts with, I forgot who gets buys. Somebody gets buys, but the other teams, it's a home, and the first round is
conference champions
home.
get buys.
Okay, conference champions get buys. Well, the top 4 ranked
seeds,
get buys.
Yeah.
So 5 and 12, 6 and 11, those are home games for 5, 6, 7, and 8, which is remarkable. But that means that Auburn would be somewhere between 5 and 8,
and Bama
would be 9 to 12. Which I mean,
that feels unlikely.
Unlikely, yeah. But I mean, it's not outside the
realm. Well, not year one. It's unlikely. Maybe a couple years down the road after Nick is gone and.
We can beat up on Lane Kiffin in his Alabama tenure.
He's gonna go for 4th and not missing the playoffs. Kiffin. So no. Yeah, man. I think that was the last one I saw.
I'm having a hard time picturing Sarkisian still in his job after 2024. Well, no, I can't say that.
Listen, somebody said here in the chat, I thought I saw it. Somebody said hot take. They don't think he even. There he is. The Walker Show says, hot take. Sark won't even be a head coach when Texas.
Yeah, listen. If you asked a lot of Texas, I've heard it's been a popular sentiment among Texas fans. It's that we talk about meddling here on the Plains. I'm telling you, it's like another level over there in Austin, and to the point where they're openly saying he's starting whoever they tell him to start at quarterback.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I'm just, it blows my mind when I hear that stuff, but it's another level of meddling going on in Austin.
For the programs where you hear they do the most meddling, often you find a common theme, and that common theme is usually teams underperform what they bring in. That includes Auburn for a while, Texas, Florida State for a very long time. If y'all got your hands in the pot, usually the meal is going to be terrible. And that's how it's been in Texas. Okay. And that's why I don't expect much from them. It seems like there are coaches who I think can thrive in that, right? Because they're like, all right, listen, you're going to do what I tell you to do, but I will also give you everything you need to do what I tell you to do. So I think Sark has been given every resource. They're getting the talent. The NIL is flowing. They're getting y'all remember this game last year. I didn't watch the game, but I also saw the footage from it where there was a referee or somebody like holding Texas and the team back from coming on the field until they had given the green light for the team to run out. And he had like touched Sark's shirt, like barely. And Sark goes all like Italian Goodfellas, like, get your fucking hands off me. And he's like red in the face. It's like, calm down, dude. This man's trying to do his job to keep y'all out. Why are you so wound up? Pressure. How can you thrive in that situation? They talk all the time about how if you looked at anything about Gus Malzahn and UCF, oh, he's so happy now. He's himself. I'm sure Gus is in a much better place because they put so much pressure on this man to do things the way they wanted him to do them. It didn't work. He was buckling under pressure along with what he was good at, offense starting to slow down. I think that pressure breaks coaches. And I've seen those signs already at Texas. And we hear more about it because all that talent, that first round draft pick, all the offensive linemen, 8-4 in that conference. It's not like he went 8-4 here. We were tired of Gus going 8-4 here in the SEC. How do you go 8-4 in that conference when the most talented team that was giving you competition, Oklahoma, it had fallen apart? That guy took all his talent.
This is year 2 for him. That was year 2 last year.
It was year 2 last year.
Last year.
Yes.
So if this has to be the year for him. I think if he doesn't put it together,
how long was his contract? How long was Sark's contract? Is it a 5-year?
That sounds about right. Right.
Hold on, I'm looking it up. Steve Sarkisian.
If it's a 5-year contract, then yes, this is a prove it year for him, and he's going to be out. Like Texas don't wait to fire people. Man. It's been fun.
It was a 5-year contract.
Yeah, $5.2 million a year for the 2021 season.
They'll swallow those last 2 years easy, bro.
Yeah.
They will definitely do that. The question is who
So
they
what
hire, though.
what does he have to do? What does he have to do then?
I think he's
9
gotta,
games?
yeah, I think
9
he's gotta
games,
at
or he
least
has to go
win 9.
10?
Yeah.
At least 9, because they just got a bunch of
No,
teams
6
into the
years.
conference. Oh, okay, there
It's
we
6
go.
years. It's
So
6
this will be
years.
year 3. He'll be halfway through the contract.
6-year guaranteed contract worth $34.2 million.
Oh, it's guaranteed too? Oh no.
A deal longer and more lucrative than what Charlie Strong and Tom Herman got initially.
I don't know. I'm a little less inclined for them to eat the last 3 years of a contract that's guaranteed. But I mean, listen, they got the money, and they're
Right.
definitely going to get an increase in money when they come over to the SEC. So they might be saying to themselves, "Whatever, bro. Like we're good."
So they'd be paying out like $16 million to get rid of him.
Yes,
That's
now,
not that's
we
that's
done more than
change.
that.
That's
We-
pocket. Yeah, that's
16
pocket
million, yeah.
change.
Right.
Auburn's paid.
So that's
bigger
still
buyouts
so
than that.
he can very still.
Yeah, I don't think that number would scare them if
He's
they
not
really
safe.
wanted to get.
He's not
Yeah,
safe.
I think the biggest thing is that they would, depending on how bad it was, like if it's just kind of a little over mediocre, right? Then they've got to have somebody in mind that they want to get.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
16 million. But yeah, 16 million is nothing. But so here's where doom gets spelled for him. Right.
Mhm.
They lose that Bama game.
Mhm.
They lose to Oklahoma.
Mm.
And their record isn't above. Like you could lose maybe both of those games and get away
Mhm.
with 9 wins, but you can't lose both of them and have 8 wins again. I don't think that you can lose to the biggest game on your schedule and like this, football superiority, Bama versus Texas bravado match 2 years in a row,
Right.
and lose to Oklahoma, your biggest rival, in the same
Right.
season. Going into the, I don't think he survives that. He got to split those games at least.
You got to
and
show
then-
something.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, so mhm.
Did he beat Oklahoma last year?
I hope
I think
so.
it-
'cause
yeah,
Oklahoma
it was-
terrible.
it
But
was
that
pretty
game,
bad.
that game was like crazy though. Like it was like some ridiculous comeback, wasn't it? Like,
Is that the one when they came back? I think that was the year before that.
Okay.
But no. I think you're right. I think Texas came back like really strong to win that game because
It
I
didn't
think
help that TCU went to
No,
the
they beat
freaking.
the brakes off of Oklahoma last year.
Okay.
Dylan Gabriel got hurt. That's right. He had just gotten hurt like the game before or something like that. So they
It
didn't.
didn't hurt that TCU was actually good last year too, right? Like it's just
Right.
something about the other team from your state being good in your conference that that drives people crazy.
Yeah. All right. Oda says Sark going back to the Norco 10s.
That's yeah.
Okay. I was
I don't know.
hoping one of y'all knew it. Okay.
I know what he's talking
I know
about.
what he means, but
Yeah. Like it's dark.
yeah.
It's real dark.
Good. Philip Coleman says, I'm calling it now. Arch Manning will be starter by week 3 or 4 if they lose to Bama.
Listen, man. A lot of people in Bama circles even are very worried about this Texas game. Like they're worried about this Texas game.
But Arch Manning, though, you don't think they'll start the other kid?
Ewers?
No,
I mean,
not
Ewers is gonna
Ewers
start
is
the
starting,
season.
but I'm
Right.
saying there was another kid
Oh, was
who
there?
people
Oh.
was raving
Yeah.
about who they
Yeah,
thought
there's
was going to
another
enter
guy
the
who's-
transfer portal. I can't think of his name right now.
I think you kind of have to start Arch Manning, right?
Because there was Arch
the
Manning was
boost-
like number 3 leaving. Like,
Yeah. Well, the boosters are going to tell him what to do, so it'll be Arch
He
Manning.
didn't look good in their spring game. So but again, to Mike's point earlier, like if the boosters are the ones that are controlling like what's happening there, and Ewers isn't Malik Murphy, is what people are saying.
Malik Murphy, there you go.
If that happens, Malik Murphy is gone. There's no chance you keep Malik Murphy the year
Facts.
after that.
Yeah.
You might as well. You might as well just the minute that he walks in there and announces that, he might as well just tell Malik Murphy, "Hey man, I packed your bags already too because I know you're leaving."
Mm-hmm.
There's no chance he stays.
No.
So he'll probably hit the transfer portal week 4 of next season if that happens.
Yeah.
Shut it down.
But yeah, I don't know, man. Listen, if boosters are really in control of that situation, they probably paid a lot of money to get Arch Manning on campus there.
Yeah.
And so it's possible. I think it'd be stupid to do it that early in the season because
Right,
Ewers is
kid
a
ain't
decent
ready.
quarterback. But
Mm.
yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know if Arch is I don't know if he's ready yet, but whatever. They do what they do over there. Oda Smith says if we score the first touchdown versus Georgia, we take a page out of Mark's book and have the whole team run out and celebrate. Let them know in front of 90,000 fans.
Yikes.
I don't mind that.
If we score the first TD, man, but you got to win still. That is going to be, or that is going to be all over ESPN. Look at these motherfuckers celebrating.
Yeah, that definitely will be the story.
That would be the not top 10 for real.
Yeah, does anybody remember what's his face? Oklahoma guy that won the Heisman.
Which one? Baker Mayfield.
Mayfield, yeah, really going wild at halftime of that Georgia-Oklahoma playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, he was showing his whole ass, and then they lost.
Yeah.
And it is played in Georgia circles to this day. They played at Christmas parties. They played at Thanksgiving. Remember when this dude, there's a whole Reddit thread called premature celebration or something like that, where it says all people celebrating before the thing is done. And man, wow. I will never forget that. He was running around with flags, and he was acting like the game was won, and Georgia was like, listen, we ain't new to this.
Yeah.
And they won. So
final thoughts, guys.
Yeah,
I'm excited. I'm more worried about this year. Honestly, this year to tell us how prepared we will be.
Yeah, I was about to say. I mean, the schedule is the schedule, right? Like, I am not so concerned. I'm not as concerned about who we play. I'm more concerned about how we play, and we'll find out a lot about kind of the preparedness of this team this year. And with the way that the transfer portal is right now, you need this year to look decent, and you need the right kind of guys on this team to feel comfortable to even want to come back. So you're not doing this whole thing over again next year off season.
Right. Yeah. If you don't have the system, you don't have the guys, man, it don't matter what your schedule is.
Yeah.
Right. Ultimately, you're going to find a way to lose.
Indeed.
That's it. Right. So, he's got to get his system in place. He needs to show proof of concept this year to players that, this thing is headed the right direction, and Auburn is where you want to be if you're a top flight receiver, or if you're one of the best running backs, or you're one of the best quarterbacks. You go out and you need to find linemen. You need to win the trenches. You need to turn this thing around. And then when we have this schedule conversation, we're talking about how Auburn matches up well with teams rather than good thing we got an easy schedule this year because right. Like, right. Yeah, I mean, that's where the conversation has to change, because I promise you, like, Kirby Smart is not for real sitting around worried about strength of schedule. He's in the SEC. He knows it's going to be hard. He's more worried about having the guys to play through that schedule, because to some extent, everybody has somewhat of a hard schedule in the SEC. Or you have to get through at least a few really, really tough games every year. You're not getting out of the SEC. You're not cakewalking out of the SEC championship game.
Right.
You're going to play somebody else who's really, really talented. So you need to be really, really talented. And that's it. It's recruiting, man. Go out and recruit the guys. And then, the schedule is just all you see on a schedule like this are opportunities to prove that we have the guys. So there's not an argument at the end of the year whether you're 13th or 12th.
Right.
You're either well inside that, or you're getting the benefit of the doubt every single time somebody asks the question, how many teams does the SEC get into the playoff? I personally think it's like 4 every year.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But Josh Payton makes this point consistently about the playoff. And he was saying how, like, this 12-team playoff isn't going to fix the problem of seeing the same teams all the time.
Right.
You're going to see more of the same teams all the time. I think that it does fix the problem of if there is a non-Power 5 surprise of the year, there's a way to get that team in to the into the playoff.
Right.
I think that's what it fixes. You may see 2 of those like off teams, that have Boise State type years, or one of those other schools, Cincinnati type years.
Pre-Gus UCF years.
Correct. Yeah. Like, 2017 UCF gets into a 12-team playoff easily.
Yeah.
Right. And we don't have to sit here and have this discussion about whether they were national champions or not.
Right.
So
Yeah, they just got destroyed in the playoff.
Right, by Georgia or whatever. And then
right, yeah. And you get to see it, and they can't say that they didn't get a shot.
Right.
So I think it solves that problem. But you just have to have the schedule. I think it's a blessing to have a hard schedule built in every year. Personally, I think, because you never have to have that argument about whether you played anybody. Right. You had to get through somebody that was tough. And as weak as Georgia's schedule is some years, again, they always can rest on that SEC championship game, facing a tough opponent, beating them and saying, right, listen, we can't help our schedule. We play who we play. But when we went against a quality opponent, we still beat them.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't leave us out.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Speaking of Georgia, Oda Smith says we enter the Georgia game 4-0. Watch out.
I think that's entirely possible.
That's
Definitely
the best. That's the
possible.
best case scenario, and is doable.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. And going into that game 4-0 means you beat Texas A&M at Texas A&M. And I think it sets a good tone for the season. It gives Hugh Freeze maybe a little bit of leeway, right? Like going into October. But November is totally manageable on this schedule. This is one of the easiest draws Auburn has gotten in 10 years in terms of schedule. Only 3 times have they had a strength of schedule ranked outside of the top 10 in the last 10 years to start the season. This is one of them. Now, it's still hard. It's still top 15 schedule.
Right.
But, man, Hugh Freeze, I think this is a blessing for him in the SEC West, man, in one of the last years of the existence of the SEC West. So take advantage, man. This was his ideal scenario. He's got to go out and he's got to get Auburn to a bowl game easily. And then he needs to find another win or two on the schedule because the offense looks like something that is growing into a monster. All right, find a couple more wins. He should be good for 6 wins as a coach. Take any group of these guys, any combination of these guys, and find 6 wins on this schedule, barring mass injuries. That should be good. $6 million a year, man. Like missing a bowl game. I mean, if you have a coach, I think that's making more than $4 million a year in the SEC, missing a bowl game should not be an option.
Yeah,
Right.
It shouldn't.
Most SEC teams are going to have coaches that are going to be north of that in a minute, though.
Right. Well, I mean, but we've seen years where 13 out of 14 teams made bowl games too.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like making a bowl game should be the standard for like the standard salaries that are being handed out.
Yeah,
That's fair.
Right. That's what I believe. And then after that, if you are good at developing people, start tacking on wins from there. 2 to 3, I think, in year 1 for Hugh Freeze, which means 8 and then 9 if the ball bounces right for him. And he picks the right quarterback or is developed the quarterbacks that are on this roster to the point where they can go out and be effective in whatever way they're most effective. So we'll see.
Good talk, gentlemen. Ike, tell the folks what they need to be doing.
Memberships, man, y'all know what it is. Go ahead and get you one. It's really good to have everybody in here who can make it on Thursdays doing Watch the Film with me. You guys can go ahead and sign up for those memberships right now so we can get ready to watch some film together. If you already are a member, you want to gift a membership, you could do that right now from the live chat. And we appreciate everybody who has continued to do that. You can purchase some stuff from us. Rapport.com is our website. Go there, click on the shop button, go purchase some merch. Get yourself ready for the season, all of those things. And we are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report, on every place where you can listen to podcasts. Audio-only versions of content are over there. So make sure you guys support us in the pod world if that's something that you are listening to as well.
Guys, before you get out of here, share this video, smash the like button. Please get the likes up, guys. Help us out with that. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. I mentioned Facebook, Twitter, but we're also on IG at The War Report. You can find us at TW Report on TikTok. Tipping out, guys, but be sure to check us out on Thursday. Ike is going to drop some film stuff, and then, of course, we'll be back on Friday with the morning drop. Until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your evening, and as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.
War Eagle.